been 5 or 6 months, but been just stayed true to me and to what I wanted to do. And, that has to require a little patience, but I had a former client call me. They're looking to grow their business and they want a guy who can come in and be, my title is Director of Business Development and Marketing. So my first thing out of the gate is going to be building their website presence and rebranding the company. And that's going to transition over into getting a sales process going and getting their sales system in place so that as we grow they want to go from 15 million to 30 million in 2.5 years. So that's their goal. And, I got, it's a Christian-based company, which I'm really thrilled about. Guys that I used to be, do a lot of work for. So they were following me on LinkedIn, and I say that out loud because I want people to know that they've been following what you guys have been teaching and what I was doing and the things and the things that I took. Yeah, go ahead. Because I'm going to tell you what, it's not our timing. It's not our timing. It's all in God's, providence. And it took a little longer than I, initially would have hoped for, Trevor. But I'll tell you what, I've met some amazing people, and I've learned a lot of things, and I can encourage everybody on this line to just stay authentic and stay true and reach out and start doing things that they don't feel that they may not think are going to make a difference, but they do. You never know who's watching, and you never know what impact you're having on other people and who's going to connect you. And that network started growing through you and Mark and Anna and all these different people. And next thing you know, Josh Ferris and Brian Plank and all these guys were connected. And, then I end up in Dallas and meet you guys. And, one thing led to another, and then bam, it hit close to home. So it's just a blessing. And I can't tell everybody listening to you today, I can't encourage them enough just to be who they are, be authentic, go after what they want, and stay true to the course.
Hey, Michael, can you tell, we had a lot of people that have come through today, right? We're on the session before this, and a lot of comments about, I have a lot of fear. It's not something that I normally do, like using video, like, I'm scared of even leaving voice message. I think somebody had said, I don't even like leaving voice messages. What would you tell like somebody that's coming through the summit today, like how to get started, what to do?
Well, the first thing I would tell you, it's kind of like me, New Year's Day, I was sitting in a football stadium announcing a college football game between Auburn and Northwestern. And you can't sit down and do a game like that and have reservations that you might mess up. And I say that only because for people that are going into this process, let me tell you one of the things I'm doing, and this will make you and Trevor both happy. We're actually going to take my private BombBomb account into a corporate account. And one of the things that I'm going to be implementing in the next 2 weeks is we're going to do BombBomb. As I launch the new website, when we respond to somebody, we're going to respond with a BombBomb video. That has been a real big difference maker for me, because people got a chance to see me as I am, and it helped me develop a manner of communication that I think is real important. And it is hard to do. It is real. It's hard to take the first step, because if you're fearful of it, your fear will paralyze you. Don't be paralyzed by the fear. Just go out and do it. It's not about making a mistake. It's not about being an expert. It's about being authentic. It's about relations, being relatable, sharing ideas. That whole thing is so important. And if you have reservations about it, if you're hesitant about it, it shows on video. Just go be you. And, you'll see Minutes with Mike on my page on LinkedIn. I posted a new one today, and you'll see at the end, one of my hashtags is go be you. Just go be yourself, and don't let that hold you back. Because what was surprising to me was one of the things that came out in the interview was one of the first things they said when they said, well, we're going to go to the next level. By the way, one of the reasons this came about was we've been following you on LinkedIn since you got, since you left your last job, and we've been impressed with what you've been doing. So if people don't think that it's not able to catapult you into a different category, it really is. And this was a job I didn't know about, I didn't see coming.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that, man. So a couple of things is he said, just do it. Just get out of your comfort zone, take action. Like, You're going to have all these thoughts in your head, but guess what? The imperfections in those little videos, those are actually the things that make you human, right? Is there anybody here on this call that's perfect? Anybody here, perfect human being on this call? Anybody? Oh, I thought we were all Jesus, right? Oh, okay, got you. So there's no perfect human being on this call. We all make mistakes. That's what connects us. Those little things. And what I find is people, when they start making their videos, they want them to be perfect. They don't want to say they don't want to stumble on a word. And so what they'll do is they'll re-record it over and over and over and over and over. Don't do that. The imperfections make you human. That's what connects us as people. And so if you try to polish it, you try to redo your video over and over and over and over and over again, none of us are perfect, guys.
Trevor, I'll do this for you. And I were talking yesterday about paying it forward. If there's somebody out there who really is hesitant about it and just wants to do a test video and wants to send it to me, I have people comment to me all the time that they just think I'm natural on camera, which that's fine. If you think that, I don't think I'm very natural, but it must work for somebody. But if they want to send me a video, and do a test run and say, what do you think? I'll give them some honest feedback. Just send it to me privately on the, through LinkedIn or whatever, or you can email it to me or bomb me or whatever. My information's on LinkedIn. You've got my email address. You've got whatever. I'll be happy to look at it and say, hey, you might think about this or this, because I want to help other people now that I've been through the process.
Michael, I got something better for you. I got something better than that.
All right.
So I've been talking about this for a while, and it's coming. I'm building, guys, and this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated for the mobile app. Okay, Michael, you've actually seen a version of the mobile app in person. So, guys, some behind the scenes. Michael flew from Florida, right? Came down here to Texas to come kick it with Mark and I for a little bit over lunch. So he got to see some behind the scenes stuff. Michael, there are some new updates. It's taking me a little bit longer, but the mobile app is coming very, very soon. Small groups are on the way, guys. This is going to be game changer stuff. Real quick, I'm going to share my screen, because this is what you guys are going to be able to do, and we'll build out more. We're going to have our own practice interview team, like the pit crew. Lena Stutz, are you in here? Because she's got her Leaders Lightning group that I've been building the Leaders Lightning group for you, Lena. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, there she is. She's dancing. She's like, ooh, ooh. This is going to be Lena's group right here, Leaders Lightning. We'll have focus groups like HR focus groups, IT, whatever it is that you do. And then we'll have a small group host orientation, so that you guys can learn how to lead these groups and make sure that they're successful and all that good stuff. So I'm excited about this, guys. We got so many more things coming this year for you, just to help make this thing happen. So excited about that. And so, Michael, your job, what group you want to lead? You want to lead a bomb group or what?
Buddy, I don't care. I'll give back any way I can. You get me past the first 2 weeks of work, and I'll pitch in any way possible. Because let me tell you something. I can see it. I can see it in you and Mark. There's a glee. There's a great joy about seeing somebody else be successful and help. And as we pay it forward and so on, that network just keeps growing. And the more people that get a chance to try it can feel successful about it, and will spread the word, the better off we are. And I just want everybody on this call to know that they can do it. It will happen, and they just got to be patient and prayerful about what's going to happen.
I love what you said. Spread the word, because here's the deal, guys. Like in Dallas-Fort Worth, there are just an immense amount of resources right here in Dallas-Fort Worth. But guess what? How many of you are from outside of Dallas-Fort Worth? Right? A lot of you are from outside of Dallas-Fort Worth, right? And there aren't as many resources out there for job seekers. A lot of places, there's nothing, right? So we're going to spread the word. We're going to get these things all over. And what we need is you guys to participate. And when we get into these small groups and we're spreading the word and we're getting it out there, guess what? We'll be able to provide resources to the entire country. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's my goal, right? So I'm going to be pushing really, really hard for that.
Speaking of that, Trevor, Foster Williams. Hey, Foster. Hopefully you're back in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But guys, if you are not connected, especially for those of you that came through the summit, Foster, we talked about him as the third co-host of the Who You Know show, but be sure to connect with Foster Williams. If you want to put your information in the chat, because he founded the Career Search Network, which is around the country. So he can plug you in. If there's a group in your area or a network in your area, he can get you plugged in there too.
Yeah, I'll try to help any kind of way I can.
Yeah, you know, Foster will open doors for you too, man. He is the job father.
Yeah.
You doing all right, Foster? You doing good?
Laura Coblin, you've been around forever. They call you the job father.
Hey guys, we've got a guest speaker in the house that I want to get to in just a second. Okay, I want to get to David here just a quick second. There was a couple of things I wanted to make sure I cover with you guys today while I had you for a few minutes before I hand it over to Dave. So, a couple things. Number one, we talk about visibility on LinkedIn. You heard it from Michael. We want to grow. We want to get your visibility. We want to make sure that you have recruiters looking at your profile so that they can come find you. Like Michael said, there was an opportunity out there that found him, right? He didn't even know it existed. It came and it found him, landed at his doorstep. So that's what we want to create for you. There are some polls right now, or some posts right now that are going really, really viral. So I wanted to let you know that some different things that you guys can be doing. So I want to show you an example real quick. Let me share my screen. There's Dave's profile here. I'll get to that in just a second. Let's see, here it is. All right. So you guys a lot of you participated in this post right here. A lot of you participated in this post right here. And I want to kind of break this down because this post just recently went viral. And it can do the same thing for you. And why is this important? It's visibility, right? So this post right here, I did about a week ago. This was 1 week ago, and it's still going to this day. It's got over 500,000 views on it right now. Over 34,000, almost 35,000 reactions, 1,200 comments. And I want to break it down for you. The reason why that this went viral is because of that activity. It's real easy and simple when you see it to understand. First of all, it's relevant to everybody, right? Whether you left your job, you kept your job, or you're still looking, right? You're going to give a reaction. So that's why you see all of these reactions, is because people are doing the poll. And that activity is what pushed it further and further and further. And this thing's still going right now, even a week later. Now, why is this important? It's the visibility. Remember how we talked about on the last one, you guys need to go switch over to the follow button. You need to switch over your profiles to the follow button. Switch, get away from connect. Get away from connect, go switch to follow. So if you're creating content, you need to go switch to follow. And like this post right here, I got, I don't know, it was a couple of thousand followers, just one post from one single post. What does that do to your next one and your next one and your next one, right? This is actually something that you guys can do yourself. You could reword this copy up here. You could take this picture and you could share that, you know, and you'll have similar results. You'll see it'll start to go viral. It's awesome. So just wanted to share that with you. Go to my LinkedIn profile, go find it. Download that picture, repost it. Repost that picture. David's raising his hand. David.
Yeah, Trevor, why follow instead of connect? You said get away from connect.
Great question. So, all right, for the longest time, LinkedIn had some rules. You had to have 30,000 connections before you could even get that follow button, okay? I recently put in a petition to get that changed. Now the follow button, if you go switch for your primary to follow button will actually be on every single piece of your content. So the reason why that's important is as you do that poll, right? You put that post out there, that follow button will actually be on the content itself. Literally, it'll be right there. So as they're in the news feed, right? They don't even have to go to your profile. They just, boop, they click follow. Follow. That's why I got, like that one piece of content, I got thousands of new followers because it was easy. It's right there in the news feed. It's on that piece of content. They don't even have to go back to my profile. So now when I do another piece of content, guess what? Those people are going to see it. And another piece, those people are going to see it. So for those of you that are creating content, trust me when I tell you that follow button is gold for you. And I recently got that changed where you had to have 30,000 connections to have that. You don't have to have that anymore. That rule's gone. I literally changed LinkedIn. There's a video I posted about it. I literally changed LinkedIn. You don't need 30,000 connections anymore for that. It's massive. All right. So without further delay, we do have a very special guest. I know we're running a little bit over here, so I want to make sure we give as much floor space to Dave. Dave, thank you so much for being with us today. Let me pull up your profile. I had it up there a second ago. He's like, man, what, you pulled it up and then you pulled it down. So here's Dave, and he's going to talk to us about some accountability today. He's got a presentation. I think it's going to lead in a lot to what we were talking about with small groups and things like that. Some of that accountability, I think, is important in your job search. And so, Dave, without further delay, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Great, thanks, Trevor. So I'm going to do normally I do have a presentation where I can show visuals and stuff like that, but I think in this forum, I'd actually like to see more of you. So I don't necessarily need all that. So, I got connected to Trevor, obviously, because of LinkedIn. Saw him on LinkedIn. A lot of the people that I work with were following him. He starts getting into my feed. And I launched my first business book I wrote back in February 1st of 2020. Perfect time to launch a new book. There you go. Trevor's got it. Perfect time during a COVID pandemic, because what better way to launch a book where you're trying to get out and speaking and promoting your book? Didn't happen. I'll get to that in a second. So anyway, I sent influencers my book, and Trevor was one of them. And so we've been going back and forth, and really appreciate the opportunity to talk to all of you because I think the book is relevant, and what I do is relevant to a lot of what you're probably going through right now. This idea of transition and careers and just trying to be the best you. So the book is actually, it's a story and a strategy. So I'm not a big fan of business books that tell me what to do. I don't know about all of you, but I like stories. I'm a storyteller. I went to Johns Hopkins University actually to be a doctor. That lasted about 1 semester and a 28 average in chemistry. So that didn't work out for me, but I went into their writing program and I ended up graduating with a writing seminars degree, which qualified me pretty much for nothing. So I became an actor. So I was an actor for about 10 years. Has anybody ever seen the show Friends? Yeah, I didn't get that one. So moving on, I did a lot of commercials, a lot of voiceovers, went up for a lot of movie roles that were either cops, jocks, or military. As you can tell, I have a big head, so I look like a cop, right? Anyway, went for a lot of those roles and had moderate success. But when it was time to have my third child on the way, my wife said, yeah, it's time to get a real job. So I went into marketing and communications, and that's where I started to learn all about experiential marketing and branding, and really cut my teeth learning from major corporations and some of the best in the business, creative directors, around what a brand is. And so I started focusing on brand strategy, opened up my own brand consultancy, and actually took a lot of the skills that I learned while I was acting and also bartending, because when you're an actor, you're also a bartender. Those two go hand in hand, right? 14 years of bartending. And I said, how do I take that experience and take those transferable skills and turn them into something? So Tip is actually the story of Brian Davis. Brian is a fictional character who, after 10 years at his job, unceremoniously gets fired in a bar by his supervisor. He actually gets fired over email the next day, but he's told in the bar he's about to be fired. One thing leads to another. He gets fired, doesn't know what to do. He's got a young family to support. And the bottom line is he ends up going back to that bar, and the bartender, taking pity on him, says, you know what? I need somebody behind the bar. You need a job while you're looking for work. Why don't you come and work behind the bar? Now, obviously, there's a method to the madness. There's a little Mr. Miyagi in here where the bartender is actually a brand strategist. And so as this guy is working behind the bar, he's learning all of these skills to take it personally. So the title of the book is called TIP. TIP stands for Take It Personally. Now, when you say take it personally, a lot of people feel, oh, take it personally, like don't take it personally. That's not what it's about. I've always found that, and I was listening in earlier to the person who, somebody found him on LinkedIn, right? No, people find you because of all the work that you've done before, right? So it's when you're doing all of that work and then somebody found me out of the blue. It wasn't out of the blue. There's a purpose to that, right? So when you think about it, here's this guy in this story and he's learning about what his purpose and his passion is, but he's also being taught the principles of personal branding. How many of you have ever thought of yourselves as a brand? Not many. Oh, there we go. A few more. Good. And so when you think about a brand, right? A brand is your identity. A brand is, it's your label, right? If I were to say to you, I've got a cup of coffee, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and it's the only thing available, who wants it? If you drink coffee, your hand's going up, right? But if I give you a choice, and if you can't tell, I'm not from Texas, I'm from New York. My choice is Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. That's what I got. I'll go for the Starbucks and I'll pay more for it, right? I see handshake.
No, Dunkin' Donuts.
There you go. We got Dunkin'. And by the way, coffee, I'm telling you, it's like Republicans and Democrats. I mean, when you talk like Starbucks versus Dunkin' Donuts, it gets nasty. So anyway, the point is that if the only coffee's available is just whatever, you'll take it because you want the caffeine. But if you have a choice, you'll actually pick the one you want. You'll pick the one you want and crave because it's got a label and you understand that there is this unique value promise being made by the product. Well, each one of you has a unique value promise as well, right? And folks like me, I'm a brand strategist. I'm also the chief marketing officer of a billion-dollar insurance company. And so when I think about applying brand building principles to human behaviors, there's a reason for that. And that reason is decision fatigue. Anybody ever experienced decision fatigue? Too many decisions, right? Just by the time you wake up, by the time you go to bed, I've walked in the door and my wife has said to me, what do you want for dinner? And I'm frozen. Anybody do that? Can't make another decision. So you'd rather have a 15-minute fight about what to eat? Been there, done that, right? So because you are fried, what we think of when we think of brands, it's really a shorthand for making decisions, right? I know the coffee, I know the car, I know the beer, I know whatever it is, I know I'm going to get a repeatable value experience from that product or service or company. It's the same thing with people. And the thing is, what do people know you for? A lot of people, when they're out trying to find work, and that's what really happened to Brian Davis in the book, was he was trying to be all things to all people. I'll just take a job. I'll take any job. Instead of really thinking about who he was, what his passion was, what his strengths were, and where he could add value to a company. And so when he started to learn all of that, when he started to build on his identity, when he started to work on his communication, when he started to focus on commitment-based actions, ultimately, he knew where he could add value. By the way, those are the 4 cornerstones of brand building. It's identity, communication, actions, and unique value. And so if you really think about that, each one of us is being labeled. Would you agree? You're being labeled the moment you walk into a room or the moment you get on a Zoom call. When Trevor introduced me, you all made a decision. You judged me within the first 7 seconds of looking at me, right? I didn't even open my mouth. You're looking at behind me. What's he got? What's in his room? What's he look like? Okay, does he know what he's talking about? Right? We're all judged very quickly. And nowadays, because we don't get that face-to-face communication as easily, even more so, that's when your online presence means so much more because, and you probably already know this, what they're saying nowadays is 60 to 70% of a buying decision is made before a salesperson enters the room. Think about it. When you buy something now, when you buy a mattress, when you buy a treadmill, when you buy something, you're going online, you're doing the research, you're checking it out. Who's saying what about it, right? So by the time you do that, boom, you've already made your decision. Well, the people are thinking that about you as well. And so we really need to focus in on our labels, right? It's interesting. Think about labels for a second. So my neighbor across, I'm a New York Giants fan, and you can boo all you want. I know you're from Dallas, so it's fine. But my neighbor across the street is a Jets fan, so he's got it even worse, right? And one day he decided, hey, why don't you come over to watch the game? And it was the only thing on, and I like the guy. But when I say he's a Jets fan, the guy is, I see the Cowboys hat, Trevor. You don't have to rub it in. So when we got the Jets, right? The Jets are green. This guy's house is green. His car is green. The dog is not green, but the collar and everything is green, right? So when I went over to his house, I said, all right, what am I going to bring? I don't drink a lot of beer. I drink more like wine and spirits. So I went to the liquor store and I found this bottle and it said Jets Uncorked on it. And it had pictures of X and O's like football. And I was like, this is great. This will be fun. It'll be a gag gift. The wine's probably horrible because the Jets are horrible. So how good could it really be, right? I walk in the door, I handed it to him, and you would have thought I walked in with like a $2,000 bottle of wine. He took that. He cradled it in his arms. He put it up on the mantle right next to his wedding photo and pictures of his kids. Like this was the most important thing to him. And I realized something when he did that. I realized that I matched his label to what was most important to him, to who he truly was. And I think we need to all remember that we are all being labeled. But if we don't label ourselves, if we don't take the time to brand ourselves, then somebody else is going to do it for us. And I'll say that again, because I think you need to remember that. If you do not take the time to focus on your identity, if you do not focus on the way you communicate confidently in the marketplace, if you do not make commitment-based actions so that whatever you're doing is moving you towards your goal, then you are falling short. You are not fulfilling that promise. So I saw some of you had whiteboards. I would like you to, what I would do, I call this your aspirational brand. What do you want to be known for? You might be known for something right now. You might have a couple of different ideas in your head, but on your whiteboard or a piece of paper or whatever, right now, what's the one word? Right? Brands are one, Volvo's known for one thing, right? What is it? Safety, right? Volvo's a car, it's known for safety. What is your one word brand? Go ahead, write that down. Trevor, you got community. This is tough. We can judge other people all we want, right? But when we start to focus in on ourselves, that's harder. And a lot of us will just let other people brand us because we don't want, not that we don't want to do the work, but it's a little scary. It's a little scary to focus in. What else we got? Margaret, learning, thank you. Empowerment, Laura, thank you. Right? Motivation, Lena. Authenticity, Jeremy, great. Top producer and go-getter, Laura, that's great. That's more than one word. See, there's always somebody who goes against the rules. There's always a rule breaker there, right? Focus in, right? I want one word. Because think about that, communication. Thanks, Liberty. When you think about what that word is, here's what that word is. And I get very passionate when I talk about this. This word needs to launch you out of bed in the morning. This word that you're thinking of, right? My word is coach. Why am I on Coaching Corner? Because Trevor gave the opportunity to say, hey, you want to come on and coach? Yeah, absolutely. I coach my kids when they were younger. I still try to coach them. Coach my clients, right? Tried to coach my wife. That doesn't work. But I do coach, right? That is I wake up in the morning. Why? Because what does a coach do? A coach, it's a verb and a noun, but a coach makes people better. And that's what I strive for. That is my brand. That's been my brand for the last 9 years. I've tried to change it because I get bored very easily. And I keep coming back to that word. Why? Because when I wake up in the morning, it drives me. And when I go to bed at night, I say, did I fulfill my promise? Did I fulfill my brand promise to my friends, to my colleagues, to my family? And if not, I'll do better tomorrow. And if I did, I can sleep soundly that night. That's the importance of having a personal brand. The thing you have to remember is when you know what that is, when you know what your purpose is. If I asked you, what do you do? A lot of people will tell me their title. They'll tell me what their job function is. They'll tell me the industry they work in. I would like you from now on, no matter who you're having a conversation with, when they ask you, what do you do? Start with the phrase, I help people. Start with those 3 words and then fill in the blank, because then it becomes more than your job. It becomes more than your title. And guess what? If you're like Brian Davis and you lose your job, you don't lose your identity. You don't lose your purpose. You don't lose who you are. You can go off and do other things. As I said, I was an actor. I was a bartender, a marketing guy. I'm a speaker. Now I'm an author, right? So why do you do that? So to me, you need to focus on who you are and the way you communicate. And it's very simple, right? We say, oh, communicate, be positive, right? A lot of you may know my brother, John Gordan, wrote The Energy Bus, right? John talks about positivity all the time. He's known for one thing, positivity. But he and I, when we chat, we talk about communication. And it's like, it's simple, right? How are you doing? If I asked you, how are you doing? What would you tell me? Okay, good, fine. Who here uses the word fine? Raise your hand, be honest. How are you? Fine. Yeah, you're not fine. You're passive aggressive is what you are. No, seriously, you are.
Dave,
right?
I've heard that in New York City, that's a 4-letter word that can be dangerous.
It is a 4-letter word. You're right. And it's true, right? And here's the thing. Whether you're looking for a job or you have a job or you're the leader, do you want to work with someone who's fine? I certainly don't. How are you? I'm amazing. I'm fantastic. Are you really? No, I'm dying on the inside. But does anybody care? No. But nobody wants it. Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm on day 11 of COVID right now. Seriously, I had COVID over the holidays. Got it, had the fever, had everything else. But I still had an opportunity to come here and talk to you. So when you ask me how I'm doing, I'm not fine. I'm fantastic because I get a chance to talk to you. That's how you have to approach. That's a simple word, right? I've done a lot of consulting with the Ritz-Carlton, right? When somebody says, thank you very much, what do they say? My pleasure, right? They don't say no problem. Anybody here say no problem? Don't say it anymore. Bad words, right? Think about it. You could say any word you want in the world, right? You own it. You own your communication. I grew up in a house. My dad was an undercover narcotics cop in New York City. So my house did not skew to the positive very much. We were on the negative side, right? So we had to work very hard to be positive. And I would call my dad down in Florida and I'd say, how's it going? He'd be like, can't complain. It's like, you just did. You just complained. Like you could have said anything, but you just complained. We are judged by our words. We are judged by how we make people feel. And I want y'all to remember that every interaction that you have with someone, you are making someone feel something. So you have a chance to bring a certain kind of energy. So you can do it through your communication and you can do it through your actions. Real quick, and I know I've got about 5 minutes, right, Trevor? So I'll go 5 minutes. And I want to leave time in case anybody has any questions. But you got identity, right? You got to know who you are, what drives you. You got your communication. It's got to be positive. It's got to be. Here's the thing about the communication. One more thing. People tell me, hey, Dave, I want to be authentic. I think somebody said that earlier, that they want to be authentic. So why shouldn't I be able to say, hey, I'm having a bad day? So guess what? I'm going to have a bad day. Deal with it. Well, if you're in an organization and everybody decides they're going to have a bad day that day, number one, you're saying it's okay to have a bad day. Number two, the productivity of the entire place goes down. So who wants to have that? So what I always try to say is try to bring the best version of yourself that you can that day. You might be normally at a 90. That day you woke up at 60. Get to 80. But don't just leave it there, right? Don't just leave it there and saying, well, you know what, 60 is all I'm going to be today, so too bad, deal with it. Not bring the best version of yourself. Does that mean you're always on? Yeah, absolutely. I like to say, once you go through like a session or read the book, I always like to say, no more bad days. And why should you, right? We only have a certain amount of days in our life. So why have a bad one? So start to have more good days, because then guess what? People want to be around that. They want to be around the energy. They will find you. Not only will they find you, they'll pay more for you because they want you around because you make them feel good. The other thing I've heard also as we've gone through the pandemic is, what do I do, right? Times are tough, actions. And I wrote the book as a story because I firmly believe that people remember stories, especially stories where there's conflict. Has anybody experienced any conflict during the pandemic? Anybody? Every hand better go up, right? We all have. Yeah. One way or another, we have. But guess what? That's okay. Because I took a writing class and the professor, this really well-known professor, said, if you want to know about your characters, take your characters and sit them around a table and then spill a bottle of wine on the table. And then what do your characters do? How you react to that spill determines who you are, right? How we react. Some people jump out of the way, don't care about anybody else. Other people grab something to clean it up. Somebody else blames the person who spilled it, right? Everybody reacts differently. COVID's one big spill, man. I mean, it's just one big spill. And how are we reacting? Are we blaming? Are we screaming? Are we crying? Are we yelling? Or are we getting some paper towel, if we can find any paper towel left, but getting some paper towel, wiping it up, and basically saying, okay, who's got the next bottle of wine? It's always about wine for me, right? I'm not an alcoholic. I just use a lot of wine, in my examples. My point is, how are you going to react? And so when you're building a brand, you can be one of four things when it comes to actions. You can be proactive, reactive, distractive, or destructive. I'll say that again: proactive, reactive, distractive, or destructive. Most of us are reactive. That's not a bad thing. We do good work. Somebody wants us to do something, we do it. Some people are distracted. Other people are destructive, right? But I think you're here, you're working with Trevor, so you're moving in the right direction, obviously. The question is, how proactive are you? Are you listening to what he's saying? Are you building your brand online? Are you doing the right things? Are you meeting the right people? Are you networking the right way? Are you doing something every day that's proactive so that maybe you didn't get a reaction right then and there, but it will come to fruition down the line, right? So we have to remember, as we're building a brand, to be proactive. And if we do more of that, if we make those good choices, if we make commitments over decisions, then it's really powerful. So one of the things, I won't tell you the whole book, but basically we're in a situation now where a lot of us don't get a chance to get a pat on the back, right? Whether we're in an office or we're in an office, whether we're looking for a job. And so one of the concepts I had in the book, it's called TIP, Take It Personally. And the impulse for that came from the service industry, right? Because that's what I chose to do. Write a book about a main character who works in a restaurant and eventually goes into the hospitality industries, because those industries will never go away, right? It'll be awesome. Yeah, okay. So when they do come back, here's what we have to remember. When I was acting / bartending, my wife was also bartending, and she worked for a corporate company. And I remember her distinctly one day when we came home from work during the day, and she came home from her corporate job, and she said, I wish I had a tip cup on my desk the way I have a tip cup at the bar. So when somebody asks me to do something, I do it, and they throw me a tip. They throw me, so by the end of the day, I'd have my tip cup as opposed to my paycheck where they take out taxes and everything else. And I thought at the time, I was like, oh, that's really funny. That's great. But the more I thought about it, and then she realized it as well, that's external motivation. That's basically, I'll do something for $1. I'll do something for $1, as opposed to, right, taking it personally. To ensure performance is actually what a tip stands for unofficially in the service industry, right? I'm holding a tip over your head so that you bring in my food hot, on time, and give me good service. You give me bad service, I give you a bad tip. But if my reason for doing that, for giving you service, is just the dollar, just the tips, eventually that's going to be burned out, right? We need to motivate ourselves internally. So take it personally means, am I taking the customer personally? Am I taking their experience? If it's a hiring manager, am I making their job easier? If I work with people, am I making my colleagues' jobs easier? Right? If I'm the leader, am I helping my people be more inspired so that they in turn can make my job easier? If you do all those things, that's powerful. So we get an opportunity, right, to not necessarily, if you're not in the service industry, you leave tips when you get takeout nowadays, right? But who's tipping you? So my advice, and I'm going to leave you with this, is get a tip jar, right? Open up the top, whatever. By the way, when I was bartending, I had those big buckets that the Coronas used to come in. Whatever it is, have an empty thing on your desk. And here's the thing. It's not about the tip that somebody gives you. It's the tip that you give yourself. So when you've done something phenomenal, when you've done something you're proud of, if you have a good interview, if you've put something up on LinkedIn and you're like, man, I'm proud of that video, write down what it was, fold up the piece of paper, put it in your tip jar. And here's the deal. 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, that's going to be full. Just like filling a jar with quarters and pennies and nickels. You dump it out and you didn't realize you had $100 in there. Well, it's the same things. After 6 months, I want you to dump it out, and then you'll look at all the things that you've done that were amazing, and you're basically tipping yourself. So in essence, what's this presentation about? It's being personally accountable for your own personal brand, and nobody is going to build your brand for you. So are you going to be proactive about it? Are you going to focus on your identity? Are you going to deliver on a brand promise? Are you going to confidently communicate with people in a way that brings your best self every day? Are you going to make commitment-based actions and not just if it feels good, do it? And ultimately, are you going to provide unique value, the one thing that you are and the one thing that you can bring that nobody else can? I know I talked fast from New York. I do that anyway, but I wanted to get all of that in. We got some time. If people want to ask questions, I'm happy to do it. It's up to you.
Hey, I really would just want to say thank you so much for that. It's you did it yourself. This book, guys, I just want to tell you a quick story. I've talked about this before, but he sent me this like before the shutdown, and we had chatted a little bit on LinkedIn and stuff, and then he sent me the book. But then we got booted out of our office. Okay, like the world shut down, and I, like this office you're seeing, like I got kicked out of here. So this was sitting in my mailbox for like 6 months, right, at the office. And when the office opened back up, I came back in. Like, man, so he planted a seed like 6 months ago. You just never know when that seed is going to sprout. You get where I'm going with that? 6 months later, I get it, and I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe that. Dang, I was like, oh man. Reached out, and that's a lot of times the same thing that's happening with you guys. You're planting seeds. It's that value you're presenting every day in your tip jar, but you don't get to see your jar fill up. That's the problem. You're not seeing it fill every day because you're putting that value out there, but you're not seeing it. You're not watching it fill up, right? And he didn't know it either. He didn't know, but 6 months later, it was full. Right? Does that make sense? So I love what you're saying. I think that it's just about providing value on a frequent basis. I like the idea of the tip jar. I think that's awesome. I think you should all do that. Go get you a jar and start putting in your wins every day, all the wins, all the little wins. Start putting them in there, because a lot of times I get people asking me, like, how do I know where I'm doing, how I'm doing, in my job search? It's hard to know where you're at.
And the wins can be personal, it can be professional. And if you do it, what I've seen some folks do, and again, people, they take it, they make it their own, but I've got teams that do it now. So it could be a real tip jar, it could be a virtual tip jar, but it's basically, they are all putting their tips in. And so after a month or two, they dump it out and they all read it. So you could tip somebody else, you could tip yourself. But the main thing is really to focus in, as Trevor said, on yourself, because you don't see it. You do the actions and you don't know if something's going to happen or not. And then before you know it, someone's calling you out of the blue. And then you're like, oh, they found me. Nah, they didn't just find you. You did the work.
100%, 100%. Just like Michael Caldwell, he did the work. They found him on LinkedIn, but he put in all that work to get there, right? So it's the exact same thing. And you just you never know where it's coming from. It's a God thing, right? But God works through people, and you got to put in the work. So, man, I really appreciate that. I think that's an important message that each and every one of us can really lean into. I know a few of you probably have some questions, so I'll open it up now. If you have a question, raise your hand and we can pick on you, and then we'll unmute your mic and you can come on in and ask. I saw David. David was raising his hand. David, you got a question?
Yeah, sure. Some people answered this in chat, but Dave said we should stop saying no problem. And oftentimes when I don't know what, I say no problem quite a bit when someone says, I don't know, but I tend to say it a lot, and I'm just wondering why it's a difficult, why it's not a good thing to say.
Well, think about it. Think about what you're doing. No is a negative word. Problem is a negative word. So we put those together and they negate each other, right? Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, no problem. But think about what you're saying to the other person. No problem. It's like, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, that's the subtext to it, right? So my whole life has been about acting and the words and everything else. Why couldn't you say something else like happy to help or my pleasure or something that is uniquely you, that you get known for? Because everybody can say no problem. And it's just like, you're not doing anything to stand out. And isn't that the whole point of building a brand? Brands are built on words and actions. And so when you think about no, think about it. Say it. No problem. No problem. No problem. They're very negative words, but we've been conditioned now. It's just, off the bat, right? We do it and we sign off in our emails and we do it on the phone. So, I used to, because I worked with the Ritz-Carlton a bit, every time somebody would ask, my wife would say, could you take out the garbage? I'd be like, my pleasure. And then my kids would laugh. They'd be like, that's not your pleasure. Really? It's not your pleasure to take out the garbage. And it's like, well, it's my pleasure not to have a fight with your mother, but it's my pleasure, actually. Okay, so if my pleasure doesn't work, and we actually had a strategy session with me and the kids, well, what could I say besides no problem? And that's when we came up with happy to help. Am I happy to help? Do I want to take out the garbage? No, I want to watch the game. But happy to help is better than my pleasure, right? So David, you need to find what's authentic to you, but just remember, every word that you put out into the world reflects on who you are and what you want to be known for.
I know what I was trying to say, that no problem is like not a problem, or it's basically saying you're welcome. That's how I meant it when I said it.
Yeah, no, and it is. I mean, it's like people are used no problem or not a problem instead of you're welcome. But I'd rather people say you're welcome, because at least that's you're welcome. Welcome, right? Welcome is a good word, not a problem. It's like, I'll give you an example. When my daughter was a swimmer, and so I dropped her off at swim practice, and I had an hour and a half to kill. So I went over to Starbucks and I started doing work. And I was sitting over by a table by the register, and I listened to 68 people come to the register and say and they'd say thank you to the person, and the person behind the counter would be like, no problem, no problem, no problem. You're spending $6 for a coffee. There should not be a problem anywhere near that place, right? And it's interesting because I immediately had my laptop open and I wrote to the head of Starbucks and their training group and everything. And I said, no problem is a problem. And we had a really good dialogue back and forth where they agreed that, you know what, there's not enough training goes into those simple, soft skills that set people apart from others. Think about it. If you're talking to 6 different people for a job and everybody has no problem, but one person says, my pleasure, or happy to help, or I own it, or whatever it is that stands out, you go, that's different. Now multiply that by 6 other things they do more positively and differently. Who are you going to pick?
Here's another example. There's a guy out there, he's known for, his name literally is Mr. Always Good. Okay. And the reason why it's Mr. Always Good is because, hey, how you doing? Always good. That is his response. I'm always good. Always good. Now, what did he do? Most people would just say good. Like, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. Right? He just put an extra word in the beginning to really punch that thing in, right? And I'm always good, right? And he's known for that. Like, that's what he's known for. That's his brand, literally. That is his brand, Mr. Always Good.
And he probably says it with a smile or an attitude, right? I had somebody on my marketing team. I'd say, "How are you doing?" She'd be like, "I'm living my best life every day."
Right.
You sound like you're gonna die. Like, okay, so the words are fantastic, but the way you're delivering it is horrible.
He does. He goes, "I'm always good." Like, he's got that excitement into it, and he even talks about when he doesn't deliver that, right? When he does not, people know there's something wrong, right? That is when people know. Like, if he's just like, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm good." People, "Oh my God, what's wrong? You okay? Or is everything okay? Like, are you all right?" Because he's Mr. Always Good. It's just like, "How are you doing?" "Excellent." I remember I went and saw Grant Cardone 11 years ago. That was a big thing. He was like, exactly what you're talking about right now. "Excellent. How are you doing?" He got everybody to raise up. "I'm excellent. How are you doing?" "I'm excellent." We repeated it over and over and over. And I remember I was in the auto dealership when somebody would walk in the door, "I'm excellent." It was like, it became a thing, and it became part of the brand, exactly what you're talking about. But it also raised my own energy level, right? Every day, because I practiced it, right? It just doesn't come naturally. You got to practice it. And I love it. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun.
If
Can I
you,
jump in for a minute?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Arissa, how are you?
Hi, Dave. I think we were neighbors because I don't think you talk fast. One thing I want to put, Long Island chiming in from Nashville. One thing I want to jump in on is, to your point, in my last gig, chasing this CEO and this executive leadership team, just to a point, they would walk up to me and say, very reluctantly, with all of their paperwork, "Do you have a minute to help? Do you have a minute to help me?" And I would sit back and take a pause and kind of smile at them and say, "I always have a minute. I would love to help you." And I started to re-gear the thinking process of this team that was running 80-hour weeks. And after a while, they would come to me, sort of like a deli takeout, where they come in, work out. And I would say to them, "Everybody's going to get a turn. Everything is going to be fine. You guys got to just start to trust me a little bit, and I will handle all of it." So this whole idea of in service industry and in food service, which I also used to do, it's my pleasure. Chick-fil-A answers that way. Sometimes it's annoying as anything going through the takeout thing. And I'm like, it's my pleasure, but that's how it has to be. So it's basically, I love we're going to talk later. I'm going to find you. I think we're linked in anyway. But the thing is, it's like what you put out is what you're going to get back. And regardless how, right? Rock on, Trevor. So regardless how ugly the 2020 was, between the tornado and the plague and the job loss, and we had a couple people that passed in our family, and all of this foolishness, it's to see what we take from 2020 as a learning experience and drive it forward into 21. And this team is just a bunch of fantastic people. And I just appreciate that. I just wanted to say thank you. That's
Where's
it.
my mic? I'm going to drop my mic for that one. Hold on. Where is it? I don't have
Up
my
and
I don't
down,
know.
Trevor.
Oh, there it is. Wait, there it is. Hold on. Wait. Mic drop. Good job. I love that.
Once I land, I'm going to take my little empty can of whoop ass and I'm going to put all my tips in it that I do for myself. And I'm going to come lead one of these things, because for me, this is like a maternity leave without a baby. All this time at home, and I got nobody to talk to except for the people at Publix. The butchers know me down there. So anyway, all that for that. I know, Mark. I know. And this is, by the way, this is water. This is not anything else. Okay, that's it.
Arissa, I'm going to tell you something real quick though. I want to point something out. You don't have to land to lead a group, right? You don't have to. You don't have to have landed that job to come back and pay it forward. You can pay it forward right now. Here's what I want to point out to each and every one of you. You all have something unique. You all have a gift, a talent, right? You all have an expertise in this job search, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a piece of LinkedIn or a piece of this or a piece of whatever, maybe one of you is a bomb expert, one of you is a LinkedIn about section expert. Somebody in here is an expert at something right now in that job search, and you could be teaching everyone else what you've learned. from your mistakes and from your failures and how you've moved forward. So I don't want to say, like, you don't have to be perfect to lead a group. You don't have to have landed and have that ultimate victory to lead a group. You can lead a group right now. And Arissa, you're a leader. You're a leader.
You all have something now that the majority of people out there don't have. You know what that is? Perspective. You all now have perspective. And have
That's so true.
Thank you, Trevor. All I say is smile at the crazy people, because we are the crazy people, right?
We're all a little crazy.
I only get out once a week, so sorry about that. Anyway,
I'm nuts. Y'all don't know that, but I'm nuts.
I have to learn to do the bombs and come out of my shell. That's what I have to do.
We know.
Right? What can I say? All right.
Oh, I love this group. Y'all are awesome. All
Can I
right.
say something real quick? Can I say something real quick? Because I've been like going off the bridge. I just started a little thread in there. Can we just put in the thread what we're all experts at? I just started. Can you give me what you're expert in? Because I can contact you later.
Yeah, put it in the chat box. Matter of fact, I would like everybody to connect. So make sure you get your LinkedIn URLs in there. I'd like to know what it is that you do. What are you the expert in? And because we're all an expert at something, right? And so put that expertise in there and put your LinkedIn URL so you guys can connect with each other. It's super important. And speaking about groups and all kinds of stuff, there's something new that I didn't even know it existed, and I just became aware of it just on Saturday, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how did I not know about this? How many of you have heard of Clubhouse? Got a few hands going up. Clubhouse. All right, Clubhouse is the new hottest app that had just come out fairly recently.
It's a crack.
It is on fire right now. It is exploding. You hear a lot of people talking about, well, the early days of Facebook, the early days of TikTok. If I could have only got on when it was early, if I could have just, then that's how a lot of these people grow their followings, is because they were an early adopter. They were there first, they got on, and boom, it blew up, right? That's what Clubhouse is right now. And I got my first taste of it today. And I'm going to tell you, oh yeah, Lena Stoops, she said, it's like crack. It's like, it is. And what was that? Somebody said something.
What is it?
Okay, so it's a mobile app. It's an app. It's kind of, imagine Zoom on steroids, but there's no camera. Okay, it's only audio. But here's the difference. This platform right now is exclusive. It's invite only. That's the only way that they're going to get you in. Okay. It's not something that everybody can just go out and get. It's invite only. So what's happening is you've got major influencers on the platform. So you've got the Gary V's, the Grant Cardones, the Oprah Winfrey's, but guess what? You get to be in a room with those people. You get to be in the same room with Oprah Winfrey and Gary Vee and Grant Cardone and all these people. And you get to raise your hand. And if they call on you, you get to ask that question. So you literally, now you have access to these types of super, and they're dropping knowledge. Their whole goal right now is they're just giving all the value and all the nuggets and giving everything they got. And that's why it's right now, there's so much buzz on it. It's just phenomenal. So I'm going to be moderating a group in there with some pretty heavy hitters. It's going to be called Breakfast with Champions. Glenn Lundy, some of you probably know who he is. Glenn Lundy invited me to it, and I'm super excited about it. And I'll be getting some more information out to you guys because you're going to be in a room with some world-changing type of folks.
So is there any way to be in if you're not an Apple person? Because in the comments, it looks like it's only Apple.
It's only Apple at this time. So we'll see where it goes from here. It will roll out to Android too. But if you have an iPad or if you have an iPhone, you're good. I'm an Android guy. I got my Android, but then guess what? There's my iPad, so I could be on it today. And I'm going to tell you, it was massive. I saw just the growth like I've never seen before. It was insane. So be an early adopter. The reason why I'm telling you this is because it's still beta, it's still new, and it is hot right now. And all the big time folks are there. This is a great way to get in the room with some super knowledge and also ask those questions and also grow your influence and grow your brand. Like we're talking about, Dave, you're talking about your brand, growing your brand and your influence. And so anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know about that. It's hot right now. Let's see. What else? Anybody got any more questions? 406. So I'll give another couple minutes. If you guys got any questions, now's your time.
Jeremy here. So for everybody that wants the book, Dave, is it on Amazon? Can you go to
Amazon? You can. It's Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much anywhere you can get it. And I think somebody asked, would I do a signed book? Absolutely. I sent my contact info so you can reach out to me directly, and we'll figure something out. Normally, I just have folks go and pick it up on Amazon, but if you're looking for a signed book, I'm more than happy to do that. My goal there would be go buy one on Amazon, then I'll send you a signed one separately and give the Amazon one to somebody who needs it.
Pay it forward. Love it.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. I got two more last things I'd like for you all to do. Two last things. The first one is Job Resource Management Series. All right, we're starting that up. If you haven't registered, go to the website, register, whoyouknow.show. You need to register for that. We're starting it up again tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central Time. So we're the whole 12-part series. I'll be teaching that, and I'm going to show you how to create these opportunities and how to have these opportunities coming to you. We're going to create you a marketing funnel. Okay, that's what the goal of that series is. So get registered. You want to start from the beginning, right? You don't want to get halfway through and like get in the beginning of that thing, right? It's a 12-part series. The second thing is, how many of you know who Grant Cardone is? I know Michael Caldwell. You put a picture out with him, right? So Michael, how many of y'all know Grant Cardone? Okay, so if you don't know Grant Cardone, you need to go get to know him. When you first start following him, he's a little brash in the beginning, but man, I'm going to tell you, this guy is he's fire. He is fire. He builds world changers. That's what this guy does. He's a real estate guru and so much more than that. He's on the 6th of January, they're releasing on the Discovery Channel. It's called a new show on the Discovery Channel called The Undercover Billionaire. Have you guys heard of it? So basically what this show is, so I see a few hands going up. So what the show is, they're taking billionaires and stripping them of everything. Okay, literally. So Grant Cardone's a billionaire. They took everything from him. Okay, they took his influence, his money, his family. They throw him in the middle of nowhere. You get no connections. He had to change his appearance. Like he can't, use his identity. He's got 90 days to build $1 million business with nothing. With $100, you start with $100, right? And so it's going from the top, hitting the bottom, and having to rebuild your way up. And so he's doing the show. It launches on the 6th. Guys, go check it out for sure. I'm gonna tell you right now. And actually, I'm gonna put a link here in the chat. You guys can go check out. There's a little promo video on it. And hopefully we can get Grant to come on the show here very soon. I would love to have Grant come join us and talk about it, because I know for job seekers, it can feel that way. It can feel like you were at the top, at your game. Maybe you're a senior level executive, maybe even a CEO. We meet a lot of CEOs who were at their, at the top, and then it's life hit them, boom, hit the bottom, and they're having to rebrand, rebuild, regrow, and so I think a lot of you can relate to that story and that premise. So I think it'd be something you'd be interested in checking out. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you today. I put the link in the chat. Go check that out. We appreciate you guys. We love you. And we'll see you tomorrow at Job Resource Management Series.
Trevor.
Yes.
Hey, I just wanted to real quick let y'all know I must reshare that sheet I keep adding events to. It's got who you know and all that, and I'll do it again tomorrow on my post. But there's lots of, people keep adding, and of course, who you know show. So if there's more, so that everybody has resources, kind of building a list. So just FYI, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lena. We appreciate that. Bye.
Bye.
Dave, if you're still in here, we appreciate you. You
might go Bears! Go Bears!
Oh man, go Packers.
Yucks.
I have the chat, so if someone didn't save the chat, I have the chat.
You know what? Just for that, just for Mark, I'm wearing my pack. I've got a cheese head, and I will wear it. Don't make me do it. I will put the cheese head on the show this Wednesday. I'm doing it.
Go Buckeyes.
We have to find a mouse costume.
If anyone needs the chat, I just saved it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Do you have a question?
No.
Hi. Thanks a lot. Really quickly, if you still have a minute. Thanks you all for actually arranging all this. I'm really grateful, Mark, Trevor, everybody for having me on as well. It's really nice. So I just wanted to ask, what if I'm currently employed and I'm, sort of covertly looking? I think Carla also asked the same question, and I'm taking a bit slow right now. So do I need to do the whole video bombing because my boss is actually part of my LinkedIn network, and maybe that's not what I want to do immediately?
Great question. Great question. Here, let me. There was a little buzzing going on with your mic, so I'm going to mute you if you don't mind. There we go. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay. So, great question. It's even more important that you're doing some of the strategies, not all of them, okay? Because it's not like we want to put a microphone and, you go, I'm searching, that kind of a deal. Like, you don't want to do that. So, but there's a lot of strategies, like putting content out on a daily basis, like we're talking about in the summit, like getting your content strategy out there to show people that you're the expert. There are some features inside of LinkedIn that we can set up so that your employer doesn't necessarily know that you're searching, but other people do. Like we need the rest of the world to have an idea. And there's some settings in LinkedIn, which I can show you. That's part of the resource series. But yeah, it's important. It's super important. And especially with the bomb, sending those little video DMs and those little video comments and getting some things out there discreetly, right? Like, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would just, you know what you shouldn't do. Let's put it that way. There are certain things where you're like, no, I probably shouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that one. So, any last questions? All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. Have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.